Hi and welcome to the fifth episode of the Charity Hub podcast. The idea behind the Charity Hub podcast is to share some information about local charities, CICs and businesses who are trying to make a difference, especially in our community in Doncaster, but also across South Yorkshire. And today we happily welcome Mr. John Craven. Good morning, John.
Hello.
How are we?
You're not too bad. Thank you. Yourself?
I'm good. Nervous?
No.
Good. That's always good because I need you to talk a lot, mate, and I know you're very good at that.
Well, it's not normal for me, but I'll
take
myself out of the comfort zone.
Yeah. So right, well, we'll get straight off at bat, and just to start with, just tell us a little bit about yourself, your background, where you're from, what you went through at school, your sport, anything you want to tell us about from
That's pretty
youth and growing up.
Pretty broad spectrum. Yorkshire, born and raised, and proud of it.
Good.
Born in Jimmy's in Leeds. God, it's such a broad tapestry. I've suddenly become lost in it.
Where did you grow up?
So lived in Leeds for the first sort of 4 years of my life. Briefly moved over to Huddersfield because mum and dad job, etc.
Yeah.
And then we moved back to Leeds again, probably when I was about 10.
Right.
Good
upbringing, rough, tough, not bad. Silver spoon.
No. I've heard of them silver spoons. Yeah, they were mainly all plastic that I saw.
We only do plastic in Yorkshire.
No, it was my dad. My dad lived all over the place. He worked all over, so I maybe saw him once a year for a long time. So no, it was predominantly my mum and my grandparents. Had a sister as well. She was a bit older than me. She's 5 or 6 years older than me. But no, it was all right.
Yeah,
it was all right. Yeah.
Good. And how did going through schooling and stuff in that area that eventually lead you on to where you went into with work and stuff? Then?
Right. Well, my relationship with school wasn't fantastic.
Yeah.
I think I was okay at primary school to start with. High school was a real challenge.
Yeah. Same here.
School clown.
Yep.
In trouble for all sorts of cool stuff.
Can't picture you getting into trouble, mate.
No, well, there were a range of things that happened over a number of years, but I was expelled before my GCSEs. I streaked at the student-teacher charity basketball match for children in need.
Of course you did.
And in front of the entire school. And the police came and escorted me off the grounds, and I wasn't allowed to go back. And
so that set precedent for the rest of your life.
So that was an exciting time. Fortunately, it was before the days of modern technology now, or I'd have been unemployable. To be honest, I'd have gone viral, no doubt.
Absolutely, mate. So obviously then it probably sounds a bit similar to my school days, but
did you get done for streaking too?
I didn't get done for streaking, mate, luckily, but I did get into trouble quite a lot. But I don't get into trouble as much anymore, not as much. So obviously that is it's not tough, but it's a bit of a unstable background, especially when it comes to education.
Mm-hmm.
And obviously that then has a knock-on effect when we start in late teens, early 20s, and can make it extremely difficult to get into a good career or get onto the right path. So where did that lead you from school and getting into work, and especially the areas you ended up going into?
Okay, so it feels like a completely different life, but the opportunities, the way sort of things were, but obviously I'd left school early. I went and started working for Cold Seal Windows, selling windows and doors door to door. Loved it. loads of great characters. Pretty corrupt as well, really, which was, which was ace at that time. I was getting paid decent money, and it was just great for me, and I was happy doing that for several years till I met my girlfriend, who is my wife now, and she slowly started to sort of guide me towards the straight and narrow. So if it wasn't for her, if I hadn't have met her, I might still be selling windows now. But she shaped me into the model citizen that I am today.
Still becoming.
Yes, I endeavour to be.
Yeah, I totally relate with you on that, because again, I'm quite lucky enough to have met somebody who steered me in the right direction to make better choices in life, shall we say. Okay, so where obviously, you've done your job there, so what led you into working in sport, and what was your first job in sport?
Yeah, well, certainly a number of years ago, I didn't envisage anything like this at all, to be honest. I had my own construction company. I'd started for someone else. I was medically discharged from the army, and I was in the engineers, and I was wanting a trade.
Okay.
That was sort of the main driving thing for me.
Yeah.
And realising that wasn't going to be an option anymore, I still wanted that trade.
Yeah.
So I applied for an apprenticeships and a brickwork apprenticeship with a local construction company. So I'll have been about 20 at this point, so significantly older than you'd normally find an apprentice to be. And went and had the interview, really liked the guy whose company it was, and started with him. So I was on £4 an hour, and I had to go to Kirklees Construction College once a week.
Yep.
But I liked it, and to be honest, I flew through stuff really quickly because I wanted to be there. I was a sponge for the information, and the whole thing was just geared up to me try to crack on as quickly as I could, rather than it be a bit of a day out and whatever. Yeah. So fortunately, my boss at that moment in time was brilliant. He was great for me. Did really well for a number of years. And then set up by myself. Right. Did really well. Did too well. I had work coming out my ears. Bit stressful, really. I had my van stolen, with all my tackle in it. Yep. Thought, I'm not going to get another van. I got a Land Rover and a trailer. Yeah, Land Rover exploded. so it was just more John Carnage. But because I was a general, Bill, I did everything. So one week I'd maybe be plastering someone's house. Mm-hmm. The next week I might be on someone's roof. The next week I might be building someone a little extension. And because of the nature of how all my work was stacking up, there were times when I was supposed to be in someone's bathroom or the kitchen or something, and I was still on the roof because there'd been snow or there'd been high winds or whatever, and it was a lot. It was a lot to cope with, and a really close friend who I'd been working with through that time period was murdered. Right. Okay. So I saw him every day. Yeah. We spoke on the phone loads every evening. And that must
have been big.
Well, that were a real shock.
Yeah.
And we used to sit and talk about what we'd like to do. When you're having your lunch in in the van,
Especially
and whatever,
in the construction
just sort of chewing the fat and saying what you like, what you don't like, and everything. And he never got his sort of chance in the sun with the things that he wanted to do.
Yeah.
But by this point in time, I'd started coaching my eldest son's football team,
Right.
and liked it. So because I got a lot of joy out of that, I'd said to him, if I was going to do anything else, I'd want to do that.
Yeah, yeah.
And now that had started in, be about maybe 16, 17 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
And all that had happened there was he was in the tot session with football, and I offered to help.
Yeah.
Got roped in, went and did the FA Level 1 course, and I was so fortunate that I got a guy called Dave Donald.
Right.
Unbelievable. So his enthusiasm just absolutely gave me the bug.
Yeah, yeah.
I wasn't expecting it. It was a real surprise to me. But yeah, I was so smitten with it. Straight away, went through all portfolio, bought some resources, got some DVDs, went and booked myself on the next course, and that's how it sort of snowballed from that moment in time. If I'd have got a real sausage, who'd have taken it?
Oh no.
Yeah, because ultimately at that moment in time, I was a builder. I had my own construction company. I was doing my own thing.
Yeah. So it's weird it's just weird how we come, because again, similar background for myself, coming from construction as well, and yeah, I think like you just pointed out there, it's that meeting that right person who can ignite a passion in you to want to do something.
Definitely.
I was very fortunate you'll like this one. So when I did my FA coaching at college, when I did A-level sports studies, I had the magnificent Eddie Gray. So that was, I think I was more smitten on just being around him than actually doing what I should have been doing. So, right, so obviously, you touched on there about losing your friend, which obviously is a very traumatic situation. Did that help motivate you, move you forward, want to achieve dreams more?
Yeah. I changed a few things at that moment in time, if I'm honest. I went and saw a hypnotist and stopped drinking.
Right.
I literally committed to doing coaching stuff all the time. So I stopped taking bookings at work. I started telling people I were going to be finishing.
Yeah.
So yeah, I had an early midlife crisis, probably. So all of this was a complete revelation to my wife.
Yeah.
I went from, we knew there was going to be money in the bank and what was going on, to me saying, I'm not sure what's going to be going on, but I couldn't, I felt I just couldn't keep doing what I was doing. And I've always, if something hasn't felt right to me, I've always just walked away. I've always just said, listen, well, I'll just go do something else. I've never felt fearful. That I think the best way to describe it is I've always felt like I could do anything.
Yeah.
So if I walked away from one thing, I knew I'd get something else. Yeah. And that's not meant to sound big-headed or whatever. I've always felt like I could turn my hand to whatever I've wanted to do. So when I'd committed to this, I just thought, right, well, let's just do it.
Yeah.
So went and started working for Doncaster Rovers. Was working in their foundation initially.
Okay.
So going into schools, doing standard PE stuff, doing some curriculum-based delivery. And I started... I've forgotten the name of it now. Is it the Hessel
Group?
Yeah, it's like a little self-contained village. It looks like Emmerdale Farm when you drive past it.
Right, yeah.
So going and
right, okay.
and working with autistic participants in there, and I'd never done anything like that. But I liked it, you know, when you can see that someone's maybe tried something even if it's just something as daft as maybe being able to catch something or whatever, hit a target with a ball. So yeah, I just thought, I like this. This is the type of thing I want to do.
Yeah.
At the same time, started doing stuff with the academy on different days, evenings, weekends, and whatever. And all of a sudden, I was, for a few years, I was over in Doncaster 6 days a week, racking up motorway miles.
Yep.
But everyone just assumed I was like Mr. Doncaster. But I were up and down the M18 and up the motorway and whatever. So, just from a fuel point of view, it was hard work.
Yeah.
Also, I had started a degree. I did my first year at Huddersfield, but it was sports science. It had been touted to me as loads of coaching, loads of practice, and it wasn't.
No.
It was, lab smock on and dropping a tennis ball and monitoring the force of the bounce and stuff, and it wasn't for me.
Yeah.
So I did the first year, knew there was no way I was going to stick it out because I just wasn't enjoying it.
Yeah.
And I really, really dropped on that. I was doing my level 3 PES, which is PE in school sports, and there was a gentleman called Tom McGrail who came over from Sheffield United to sit in on the delivery of that course. So I was talking to him and telling him about what was going on at Huddersfield and my own coaching and everything. He said, "You'd be so well suited to the degree that we do at Sheffield United." So I said, "Well, tell me a bit about it." So he told me, sent me a few resources through. He says, "Have a look." He says, "I'm completely up for a chat, but he said, if you want to come on board," he says, "I'll help facilitate that and we'll get you on." So lo and behold, I did it. Went and did that. So I was doing my degree with Sheffield United. Mm-hmm. I was still coaching at Doncaster Rovers.
Right.
So yeah, it was a peculiar balance of having to change my tracksuits around and stuff all the time.
To rivals as well.
Yeah, but I liked it.
Yeah,
I really liked it. And then I started doing some bits with Sheffield United, going into schools, delivered on 3 of their NCS programs, National Citizenship Service, which again I liked. They were different. Made me realise I was getting older. Listening to some of the music that they'd put on when we were going places and stuff, and some of the people they'd never heard of. Couldn't believe it. Yeah, really, really dismayed to find that I genuinely was perceived as really old to people. Yeah.
So that's at Sheffield United. What?
So that's at Sheffield United. And then sort of the main issue I had was I was getting to. I'd finished my degree, and then I went back for another year to add something else to it. And that took me into the year of COVID.
Right, okay.
So it meant that I couldn't finish in time. It's a completely practical based course.
Yeah.
So I couldn't finish it, which meant I had to go back again the following year and do it again. So I was left in sort of the double whammy that I knew I was going to have to redo that year because I was down as a student. I wasn't entitled to any form of benefit or anything over. So I'm seeing people getting furloughed and they're out walking dog and they've managed to buy themselves a new car, extend the house with all this furlough money. My wife's a mobile hairdresser, self-employed. Right. She didn't get any help.
Yep.
I couldn't get any help. And yeah, that was a really horrendous time for me. I'd sorted a load of girls stuff as like a launch pad for what I was wanting to do, and you had to cancel it all.
Yeah.
And then I organised it again for when we managed to get freedom, and then we got locked down again. I mean that would just a horrendous moment in time for me. And my mental health went down the toilet. My pride went down the cupboard, having to, we're cap in hand to family. Cause we couldn't afford to do anything. Yeah. Couldn't get out. We just couldn't do anything. And it was a real struggle for me, real low point. Mm-hmm. I was up for killing myself at that moment in time.
Right.
Had a real epiphany moment. We won't get into all these things, but I managed to sort myself out 11th hour, and I got the help I needed from the university. Right. University of South Wales were unbelievable.
Really?
Yeah, the support they gave me was exactly what I needed.
Okay.
At that moment in time. They couldn't have done more. It was brilliant. They sorted me a counsellor. The chaplain would ring me every day. Right. And he never sort of hurried anything. He was, just chat with me till you're bored of hearing my voice, and then I'll catch up with you tomorrow.
Yeah. So
they were awesome.
Okay.
But yeah, that was just a really tough time. So I then, when we finally obtained freedom once again, I went to go and deliver some half camps for kicks, of which a friend of mine had got the franchise.
Okay.
But because he was based in Doncaster, I did sort of the initial expansion of that while he were based elsewhere, which was an arrangement that sort of worked well for both of us. But yeah, I delivered this camp for a couple of days, and then decided to have pneumonia.
Like you do.
So yeah, I was at home for about a week, just feeling horrendous.
Yeah.
And long and short of it, his ambulance came for me, took me to Huddersfield, who then took me to Halifax, and I was in intensive care for some time. Inside, it's like a bag. It's like this bag with loads of valves and whatever. And just lived in intensive care for ages.
So how long were you in there for?
I were in for.
I know it will.
So I were out of there for pretty much the summer holiday. Came out, moving from room to room. It was horrendous.
Yeah.
just shattered, just literally bimbling about. And then after weeks and weeks and weeks of not improving, went and had a load of tests, and they said you've heart failure.
Right.
So postural tachycardia syndrome.
Long word, well remembered.
Yeah, long word, which they call it POTS, so that might help you.
That's better.
Yeah, I knew you'd like that. So yeah, it's just been a very laborious recovery. But what it has allowed me to do over all this period is really research and refine what it is I was going to be doing. Right. So I appreciate we've not just sort of worked in a truly linear chronological fashion then, but from Sheffield United I went to Leeds United, worked in their foundation, worked up at the academy for a couple of seasons while Bielsa were there.
Oh, mate.
Amazing. So Bielsa...
I'm not jealous at all.
Yeah, so Bielsa a couple of times had come and watched my group. Buzzing. So that was ace, but I was aware through the research that I'd been doing through university, because I did female and disability participation within Kirklees.
Right.
Knew that it was completely, at that moment in time, completely untapped.
Yep.
There was nothing. So that's what I was going to do. That's where I targeted everything. So got some strategically key locations to start Wildcat centres. I designed my logo, designed my main business, so it was going to be GWL. No, completely tell you a lie. At that moment in time, it was just still going to be girls. Then during lockdown, we can't do anything anymore, and I know that I'm going to need to redo my uni stuff.
Yeah.
I thought rather than just do my project on girls, I'm going to look at female participation as a whole. So compared and contrasted what was available for the girls, started looking at women,
right,
20s, 30s, 40s, up to sort of a more established ladies, yes. So after talking to folk about correct terminologies, there are some people who would term themselves as a woman. Some folk who would term themselves as a lady. So I wanted to try and just get all of that within the name. So I came up with GWL United. Did pretty much a football-based logo to go with that, because I thought football, walking football, futsal, sort of football-based invasion games were going to be the thing.
Yep.
And went with that. And then when I was ill and then came back out, for all intents and purposes was disabled because I couldn't do anything.
Yeah.
That was the catalyst for me then really starting to look more and think, there are other disenfranchised people within the community other than girls, women, ladies, etc. So yeah, those. It's for me. It's ended up a blessing in disguise, really, because when not long after I'd gone into hospital, I was suicidal.
Yeah.
So I was up for killing myself. But then when I went into hospital, I had to really fight to stay. I had to force myself. I couldn't eat for like the first 9 days or whatever. Right, okay. 'Cause I had this bag. I were struggling.
Yeah.
and then had a few of those little like milkshakey things, and then a bit of a nibble of toast, and then just so I was really forcing myself to do it.
Yeah.
And I realised I was actually sort of fighting to stay alive, basically.
Yep.
So I'd come absolutely full circle then. So I felt really, really good about that.
Yeah.
But obviously the flip side of it was I was physically,
You're in a bad way.
physically useless. And I knew that financially things were going to be really brown for a while.
Yeah.
So pride, like I said, pride just went out the window. I've been capping hand to people, and
I've been there myself, mate. I've been there myself, and it's not a nice place to be in as a grown up.
No.
But I think again, what it shows is the love and care for us as an individual from his friends and family. Because I don't know how you are, but a lot of my family aren't particularly well off. But I know they give me the last penny if I needed it.
Yeah.
And again, I've been there a couple of times with Sen, breaking my leg in football, and I worked for 4.5 months, just married. Literally getting money off people for Christmas so we could buy food. We just, spending your last bit of penny in January buying your pint of milk before you somehow got to work, and the really, really dark days, some of those. And I think some of those dark days, more so from your point, especially where you were at health-wise, is when you can actually start thinking in a positive light again, you see opportunities that you can channel yourself into that aren't going to have those effects and will bring you some enjoyment in life. Because I think when you've been to a very, very dark place, or you've been really, really unwell, I think it's much easier to understand the benefits of having a job you enjoy and it not be about the money. Yes, we need money. You said there about paying bills and stuff, that's puts a lot of strain on couples and marriages and everything else. But when you can find something you genuinely enjoy doing, gives you a skip in your step, a smile on your face when you're tired and exhausted, the money doesn't become irrelevant, but it becomes less important. And I can definitely see like your passion in what you do, and I love the fact that we can work with you on that. How, just touching back briefly on that then, so we clearly went through quite a lot during COVID. How long was your time for recovery? How long were you ill for? Because I know it was a tough period for you, and you've done like incredibly well just to bring yourself back to where you are right now.
So, if you work, to be honest, that moment in time, I've lost track of months and actual what year.
Right.
That's ridiculous as it sounds. Yeah. But after being ready, sorting my launch event out in 2019 is when I'd started. When did we first get shut down? Was it 2020? February 2020?
Just after, yeah.
Is that
March,
right?
I think, yeah.
So, last X amount of months of 2019, sorting out my launch event. Launch event was due, I think, the start of March, and we got locked down in February, at some point in February. How long were we locked down for? I've genuinely forgotten.
2 years. I know it's really confusing on the
so
brain,
we lost that year. We lost 2020,
yes,
didn't we? So then, following year, 2021, and then in the summer in July 2021 is when I got ill.
Right.
Got out of hospital in September. Wasn't improving. Went had tests, etc. Around Christmas time, and then I was housebound pretty much the entire following 12 months.
Right, okay.
Where I was working behind the scenes to... If I was laid on the sofa, this were the you know when you're ill, it's easy to stay in bed, and because if you feel garbage, you just feel garbage.
Yeah.
But if you actually feel all right, it's hard work to sort of be ill, be off. You know, I'm off ill. But if I was laid horizontal, my heart rate was somewhere between 70 and 77. Soon as I stood up, it went straight away to about 160 plus. Throw any walking or going upstairs, you know, I'm like near to it's just going crazy. So I was just anything. I was shattered, but I could lay horizontal on the sofa and I was just on my phone all the time.
Right.
People at the FA, people at Sporting, just constantly getting stuff sorted. So I was working, I was doing stuff, but it was all behind the scenes things. So the things where I'm not going to be earning any money directly from them, but I'm sowing the seed to be able to, earn money and develop different strategies and whatever from. Did loads of that, and that opened up the scope for a half camp at Christmas, for a girls only camp in Huddersfield. There'd never been a girls only camp, so the council weren't sure about it. They didn't know if it had. They just didn't know. Plus, it was going to be. It was. I think it was 20th, 21st, 22nd. I mean 23rd. It was literally. It was going right up to Christmas, and it was outside, in a field.
Okay.
So. Yeah, I think they thought this could be carnage.
Yeah.
But it was brilliant. It was absolutely brilliant.
Right.
But that was the first work, and I had no idea about my health or anything. So obviously I had anxiety that the fact I was just in the days before, I was moving around more to sort stuff out. My back were going, things were
There's stuff you're not used for a long time.
Stuff I've not used for a long time. So just carrying things. Later on that evening, I felt like I'd been, doing like that insanity program. And I'd gone through all the DVDs.
Right.
But just getting in I couldn't drive for ages.
Yeah.
Because I was just incapable.
Right.
So I was scared. I was scared at that moment in time that I wasn't physically going to be able to do it. But I did it. It was well received. The parents loved it. So it was a rampant success. Yeah. Council were happy. They wanted to work with me more. And then in not many weeks after, I started a pilot that I was doing for women with a certain BMI. Mm-hmm. That started going really well. I was liaising with... I'd looked at putting a programme together for over 65s.
Yeah.
Because there was no provision around us. And people, when I was talking about that demographic, they used to say, it's a bit of a grey area, really. That was... I says, right, it's going to be it's going to be the grey area. Yeah. That's it. It's perfect. But yeah, the wants and needs of that demographic weren't coming under sort of some of the delivery methods that I was using. It required something different. So, and again, what I found at that moment in time was when some of the older ones were looking at the emails I was sending and the bump I'd printed out, the badge just looked like a football badge. Mm-hmm. And they didn't like it.
Right, okay.
They didn't like it. So I was on, by this point, with Kirklees social prescribers who was signposting participants to me and talking about me for other things, and it became apparent I needed to change the logo. I can still keep the football one for like some of the ball sports initiatives that I've got, but it needed something where it just said what it was on the tit. So hence the different logo that you see now, the pink one, GWL United, just as it is in that box, really basic. But that's ended up more appropriate for some of the other things, basically. But when I was initially going to start, it was just football. It was just going to be football. So yeah, things have had to be tweaked and they've evolved. And
that's right, mate. We're always evolving. So GWL have. Who and are and going to be instrumental in promoting female participation in sport. So what inspired the passion to empower women in sports for one, and how do you envision GWL's role in the movement of pushing female sport, and now obviously where we're moving into with disabilities and other areas?
Okay, so my daughter, Rhea, she's going to be 17 in the next couple of months. Mm-hmm. She used to come with her older brother to all the stuff I was doing with him, and she'd be there kicking the ball around in her little wellies and stuff, and she was mad keen to join. So she'll have been 5 or she'll been 6. She'll have been 5 or 6, and her friends at school said they were all going to come with her. So we probably had 4, 5 or 6 girls who were going to come and be a nucleus of a team. I said, I'll tell you what, I'll do the training, I'll take your games as well. I can factor it in around Jaron, which were great.
Yeah.
Turn up for the first training session, and old boys stop. One of them points, says, "A girl! There's a girl!" And my daughter's looked up at me, lip going already.
Yeah.
I'm thinking, oh, please, come on. I can't believe this. Couple more comments, and she didn't want to go back. Mm-hmm. She didn't go back. None of her friends had turned up as well.
Right.
So she was the only girl there. Yeah, that was a real
tough moment as a parent.
Oh, God.
It's a bit of an eye-opening moment as well.
And I then ended up having to take these because I felt obligated. So I then took them for a full season, did the training, took them all over the place. And at the end of the season, I said, right, who's going to step up and take the boys? No one. So it just ended up...
Right.
It ended up a bit of a void year of my life, basically. Mm-hmm. But she went from being so excited, she got a pink... Used to be able to get the hats from like a... It's a bit much to suggest a club shop, but the club... Yeah. You could ring or send an email and they'd put you some stuff together.
Oh, right, okay.
So, yeah. Pink hat, only one in the club. Yeah. She was so excited, and in no time, her dreams and her spirit were crushed.
Yeah.
And she's never, as much as she wanted to, she's never played. I've never been able to encourage her back in. That moment put her off to such a degree. She never recovered from that. And at that moment in time, I had a look around our region, and the best I could probably manage was Battyford. I think either once a fortnight or once a month, we're doing things down in Murfield. Bit of an ad hoc setup at that moment in time. There wasn't anything. There were no opportunities.
Yeah.
So she said, "Well, I know anyone in Battyford." I said, "No." She says, "I don't want to." Then she'd been put off.
Yeah.
And that moment had stayed with me. That if my son had had a negative experience, he could have gone to any.
Yeah.
He could have gone to another 100 villages across Kirklees, whereas my daughter didn't have that facility.
Yeah.
So straight away, the seed had been sown from that moment in time, but I just wasn't really in a position to do anything about it. And she found Taekwondo, and Taekwondo was brilliant for her.
Mm-hmm.
So it negated me to, worry unduly about it and be too stressed. But it did stay with me, and it was the catalyst for me when I was given the different choices that I could choose from in my modules with university.
Right.
What do you want to pick? Why is it pertinent to you? I thought, yeah, that's
perfect.
It stayed with me enough for me to do that.
Right.
And when I did it, and then I researched our area and the surrounding areas. At that moment in time, South Yorkshire didn't have anything going on for it. There wasn't a great deal of anything.
No.
While I was ill, the England team started doing really well. And I'm thinking, I'm actually that useless and out of the game now. I'm actually missing all these opportunities that I were absolutely well placed for.
Yeah.
So that was a little bit frustrating because, I could have been a real pioneer in our area. And as it was, by the time I'd started getting myself back into the land of the living, some of the local private academies and stuff had started doing like a girls' hour and stuff like that. Little bolt-on bits to facilitate the wave of emotion and stuff that the
lionesses and that created. Yeah.
So missed the boat a little bit with that, but ultimately I always knew that because what I'm wanting to do is solely focused on that rather than just facilitating by bolting little bits on and whatever, knowing that in the long run I'll be able to put things together that will be really transformative rather than just extra little money spinners and stuff.
Yeah, because it does. I mean, I know things are changing quite quickly, should we say, especially around young girls in football. Mm-hmm. But there's a long way to go. There's definitely, the more we're hearing now, about the fact that the boots aren't modelled on a female for ACL problems and all the rest of it. And I think, you might have obviously feel like you missed the initial kick-off of all this around the lionesses and stuff, but I do believe the position you're in now with your health, your mental health, and the way the female interaction with football and sport in general is growing because of that, and it's had a couple of years. I think now is probably a really, really good time for you to get out there and do what you're doing. Which will take me on to you recently delivered for the Charity Hub with Nathan, who we've had on the podcast from DICE. Mm-hmm. And working with his service users, which I know, again, was new for you. It was new for us at the Hub. So it was we were a bit nervous about how it might go and how it would work, but we obviously, myself and Brett came down to see you and, just felt the instant joy.
It was mega.
Instant happiness. And, I'll just, touch on that a little bit on how you were about it and what you got from it and what you feel the service users got from that.
Yeah, I knew they'd love it. I wasn't sure how the blend of maths and basic problem solving and stuff like that would go, but it went great.
Yeah.
But just having a carousel of different activities, so they can do a bit of invasion games. They can come out, have a breather, bit of archery, bit of darts. Go back in. They did hockey, they did polo, they did football, they did futsal. They've done football on space hoppers. They've the world's when all the equipment's there, the world's your oyster.
Yeah.
And I think being able to set it up in such a way where they can dip in and out, and do stuff at their own pace is perfect.
Yeah.
And I've honestly, the last one we did, I just laughed. I just laughed and laughed and laughed.
Yeah.
Because the enthusiasm that they've got and the energy, it's just pure.
Pretty much unrivaled. Isn't
Yeah,
it?
it's just pure. And yeah, I could be earning significantly more money sticking, bricks or bits of stone down on top of each other, or tiling someone's bathroom.
Yep.
But I wouldn't. You couldn't trade that after you've gone and tried it.
Things.
Yeah, it's wholesome. Gives you a good wholesome feel about it. You can go home and feel good.
Yeah, and again, especially from my point of view, after the event and speaking with Nathan and the rest of it, it highlighted, and Nathan particularly highlighted the lack of physical activities that are out there, especially for adults who have disabilities or learning disabilities or physical, whatever it be. And I've definitely been woken up more to this as a problem, an issue. And we've had conversations about how we go forward and we try and work with this. How has it changed your business perspective? Has it changed your opinion? Because obviously you've had the impact with your daughter on the female side of things, and now obviously we're having discussions about moving into different areas with what you do, because we can see that it's needed in the community. Do you feel that's going to go well? Do you think it needs to be adapted more? Or do you think, from what I've seen, it just looks like they can get in there and get on with it?
Yeah,
and
yeah.
like you say, they were just having a laugh. What are your thoughts with this going forward? Do you think it can grow more? Do you think it might be isolated to the area?
No, I think we're well placed to launch and begin to fine tune things here. Purely because
Here being Doncaster,
of course. Purely because you've got Dice, you've got Titans, so you've got those networks already in place.
Yeah.
I think we're really well placed to start here, put a blueprint together, and then look to expand it and roll it out in different areas. So obviously I've got a lot of links in West Yorkshire.
So yeah, I'll just put it out there now. Well, if anybody's listening to this, hopefully somebody is. If you've got
all one of them.
any connections in the areas with working with individuals with disabilities of any description, I'd please encourage you to try and get in touch with either John at GWL United or us at the Charity Hub, and come and have a conversation with us about how we can potentially work together on that. Because I think, again, like we've been trying to do with the hub, it's the same thing. We try and pull the people who are relevant to make it what it should be, not what we think it should be. Likes of Nathan, who work with the service users pretty much every day, and I've done that for 10 years plus. They know exactly what's needed. But I'm really, really excited for you. I'm really excited for that side of things. But also, I know you also do the 3v3, you do futsal. Do you want to just maybe give a bit of a description on what they are and how they work? Okay.
So the 3v3, I've got the old net style pitches, and they can take quite a while to set up, to get participants playing. The technology that they've got now, the newer technology, is an inflatable pitch surround, and they can be blown up, capped off, so there's no noisy. It's not like old-fashioned bouncy castles where there's a smoky generator somewhere. And if someone was to sit down on it, it sort of squashes down until they get up. You blow these things up, you cap them off. You can have 50, 60 kids all sat on each side. And it just means that the ball is always in play. I've obviously delivered some events in Doncaster for you guys. I delivered on Friday for International Women's Day up at the FA.
Fantastic.
So we had 6. I put 6 pitches up, and we had over 200 girls come from a range of local schools. A lot of them had never played before.
Yeah.
And they loved it. Yeah. They absolutely loved it. So that's something I'm really looking to build and grow.
And I'm going to guess it can. You must see something that you think, this absolutely can.
Oh, they love it. They love it. It's, the thing is, the way that I like to think of it is, when I was at school, there was test cricket. That was it. That was, you know. So it was a long, involved process, and but that was what it was. Football for us when we were at school was 11-a-side on a massive pitch, you know. And if you got 2 or 3 touches of the ball in a game, you were smashing it. So it was pretty much like Kes. That's the type of thing it was. So the notion of being able to do football for children of that age and experience, but in such a way where they're getting loads of touches of the ball, they've opportunities to score, they've opportunities to defend, they've opportunities to combine and share with a mate, or they've opportunities if they see a space to run. That's the polar opposite of what my initial school experience was. So 3v3 gives you that, and as far as a learning tool goes, and something that's fun, but also something that can be used for big events or half camps or whatever, and the fact that it's adaptable for doing walking football, for doing blind participation, if you're in a chair or a walker or a frame, whatever it is, you know, it's there and changeable. That might be from a sort of a cricket perspective. That's now, the 100. The futsal that I've started doing over by us, I've started the girls' first female-centric league.
Okay.
So that's affiliated and sanctioned through the West Riding County FA. First of its kind.
Is that?
7s to open age.
Okay.
But again, it's just finding at the moment. You mentioned futsal to people, and they.
Yeah, I'm the same.
Futsal.
Go on then. Brief description.
Description. So, 5-a-side, played on a hard court. The ball plays a little bit differently. If you drop it, it doesn't bounce. Yep. Feels a bit heavier, which is geared up for keeping it on the floor. Mm-hmm. Also makes it a lot easier to control. It's a mega game, and some of the South Americans and stuff attribute their experiences with futsal to helping them become the player that they are.
Yeah. And
you can also see from styles of play, your Brazilians, your Argentinians, etc. That they can keep the ball. It's not the traditional British style. Yeah. So it's ace. It's ace. So that's a way for girls to experience and play it. At the moment, it's through grassroots girls teams that are looking at trying something different. Mm-hmm. Whether that's because they want to improve the players, or they're just looking at something else to accommodate the fact that they keep missing games where the pitches are frozen, the pitches are waterlogged, there's snow on the pitch, there's 100-mile-an-hour winds or whatever.
All the usual British conditions.
All the usual pitch-related horror shows you don't get with futsal because you've got a roof, you've got walls, Parents have got toilets and stuff on site. You know, there's changing rooms in the venues.
Yeah.
All those barriers to participation are completely removed, and the game itself just allows you loads of touches on the ball,
Right. Okay.
and loads of sort of transitional moments. It's more like basketball, in the regard of, you know, 1 minute you're attacking, then you lose it, and the next second you're having to defend,
Yeah.
but then you manage to pinch it again, so you're attacking. So it's really exciting. There's a great flow about it.
So what would you hope, not expectation might be wrong with, but what would your hope be for the next, I don't know, 12, 18 months around GWL, the futsal thing? What you think would be good to happen for the community as well? Because that's what it's about. It's about opening something up for the community, isn't it? So it can be accessible. You know, do you foresee problems? Do you foresee huge growth in the next year to 18 months?
Growth.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've got West Riding County FA have been brilliant. There's opportunities with Sheffield and Hallamshire County FA. We've spoken to people about things for over here. So obviously we've had a conversation today. We had a conversation the last time I was over. So there's avenues to explore there that could be transformative. You know, it's serious. But no, I'd like the girls' league to grow in West Yorkshire. I want to set up the same thing for South Yorkshire, and then the scope for Yorkshire champions, and you know, so we can create more of a pathway then. So it's not just participation. We can actually start seeing who the best players are within the region, and how we can tie that in, you know, with England futsal, or you know, with the three lines themselves. So there's loads of scope for that. The 3v3 situations just is gonna 100% go crazy this year.
Right.
That's 100%. And then some of the other initiatives as well that are just in the background at the moment will start to come to the fore. So yeah, I envisage loads of good things, and I can't really think of anything.
A very busy,
negative.
very busy year or so, hopefully.
The only sort of potential spanner in the works, and this would be if I was still predominantly just doing things by myself, would be that the amount of growth and there just being me to deal with things are going to start getting missed. That would be a potential issue. However, the work I'm doing with the Charity Hub now, and the fact I've got a team of people in my corner who can help me with these things to grow and develop, I'm going to be able to maximise my opportunities, and that's purely because the Charity Hub's in my corner. So I feel comfortable.
And again, I think, you know, we've been able to see, one, what you want to do, two, we've seen it in action, and then just knowing where it can go, and knowing you probably just need, like most of us, just need that bit of support until things actually start going, and you can bring the right people in, and you can pay the right wages and all the stuff once you start paying yourself one.
Wages.
You know, it's always been such a big issue, just especially amongst the third sector, which I know is a new area for you, because again, like you say, you've been in the building trade and all the rest of it, and I know it's been a bit of an eye-opener coming into the third sector, because again, it's very meaningful, has a lot of reward, but is extremely difficult to survive in, financially, mentally. But again, from what we've seen at the Hub, and I would hope from what you've seen, there's so much scope. And there's so many other organisations want to get their service users, whether that be male, female, young, old, disabled, not disabled, involved, because they can see the genuine fun of it. Because again, I think too much emphasis is put on winning when we play sport. And what we've been able to see with you, with DICE on the multiply programme, is just enjoyment in education, which is one big thing I'd like to push, because again we keep saying, I've said this a few times with, education does not need to be boring.
No.
And I think the way we're trying to approach it is great, and the way that you're doing things is wonderful, mate. So from me as a friend, but from the hub, just absolutely just please keep doing what you're doing, and we will try and support you as much as we can with that. But this now leads me on to probably, especially one of the most important questions, and that in question would be, what would your favourite meal or cheese be?
My favourite meal or cheese?
Yep. Thrown you now, Anna.
I mean, could it be a combination of the two? I mean, I'm a pizza fan.
If you need to,
You
mate.
know, it's a disc-shaped meal.
We've had mixtures. We've had people that don't like cheese, weirdly.
Oh no!
And then we have had people that do like to combine the cheese.
Oh no! It's cheese on everything. Cheese on toast. Cheesy beans on a potato.
Cheesy pasta.
Cheese.
Just cheese.
Cheese.
Just keep saying cheese,
just
mate.
Cheese. Just accelerates everything.
Right, so we're going pizza, are we?
I am a bugger for pizza.
Oh yeah. What's your favourite pizza then?
These are big questions.
I told you, mate. Leave the big ones till last. I can't believe how much that pickles your brain.
Yeah.
You've always got so much to say.
No, but I'm thinking. I'm actually trying to think and envisage it. It's hard because there's new things coming up all the time. I could go into a co-op. They do a slow roast Chianti beef with caramelized onions. So you go in one week, you've never heard of it, and then all of a sudden, it's delicious.
Right, okay.
There's.
So we'll give it the broad line of
if
just
it's,
pizza.
Yeah, if it's disc shaped and involves cheese, you can't fail.
Right, okay.
What about you?
No.
No.
We don't get into that.
What meal? What
meal? All right then. Mine would be a chicken wrap.
A chicken
wrap with salad, roasted peppers, onions, courgette, plenty of cheese, and lots of barbecue sauce.
Okay.
I am a bit of a bugger for wraps and chicken. I have them here at work as well. So yeah. And then what we've started to do is
serve the meal that you've just.
Well,
someone about to bring me a pizza
when we get to the point of quantum computing and we can just instantly make it, then that will be a lovely idea, and we can share that meal and maybe review it at the end.
That sounds good.
Yeah, what we've asked to do is the person who's been on previously, which would be Nathan from Dice. We asked them to leave a question for the next person on the podcast, which obviously is you. And Nathan's question was, how can we help make the world more accessible?
Wow.
Obviously, Nathan working with people with disabilities and stuff comes across this a lot, and I think it was quite interesting for him to see how you engaged with the service users, and that was a first for you. So yeah, his question would be, how can we make the world a more accessible place? Big question though.
Probably education. I was listening literally only yesterday. Jeremy Vine had I can't remember her name on, but she was in Ricky Gervais' The Office. She was the one in the chair.
Okay.
And they were basically talking about the fact that there's a lot of slights and issues that happen with people with a disability on a daily basis. Mm-hmm. So they're missed in queues.
Yep.
Because they're maybe so low down. If they're if they've gone for a meal, they can hand the guy the card, take off, pay for it, come back, give it to the able-bodied person. There's loads of little things, and I think with some really basic education, I think it'd probably make quite a meaningful change for a range of things right across the board. She says there's people, visually impaired people, who are being helped across a road that they don't want to be helped across, and then they're actually lost. There's people who try to help people in wheelchairs, and because of the technology of the wheelchairs now, some are quite upright so they can see and whatever, and they go to push stuff and they're not meant to be. You've got people
problems.
face planting. So I think there's a lot of well-intentioned calamities that end up coming from people just not really understanding and appreciating. So I think, the education set, rather than learn what happened at the Battle of Hastings in 1066 and, some of the other nonsense that you're drilled to remember, so you can sit down and get all those things on paper and then forget about them for the rest of your natural life. There's very, very little from school that I have
that educates
carried.
Around this.
Square peg, round hole, but just bray all the pegs through to get them through it. We need to be preparing people for what society's like at the moment. So, dealing with money, dealing with the perils and pitfalls of what is happening at the moment, but also appreciating that I think it's about 20% of people on the face of the earth at the moment have got disabilities.
Right.
And understanding that huge percentage of people might need to be...
being excluded quite a lot.
Yeah, of course, 100%. So some of these people, if they've had... All it takes is one or two bad experiences in certain regards. Look at my daughter. She had one bad experience. She's never gone back.
Yeah.
And you'll know yourself if you're a fan of a Chinese takeaway like me. I don't think I've ever had one with cheese. They've not needed it. But you could go to the same Chinese takeaway for 10 years. If you have an absolute rotten one night, I'll go somewhere else the following time. It only takes one bad experience.
Yeah.
So just educating folk and letting them know that their words, their actions have got a really meaningful impact.
Yeah.
And it won't take much. I think 90... I
think that's the thing, it doesn't take
99% of people have got the best intentions. They wouldn't deliberately go out to hurt anyone's feelings or cause anyone any distress or harm.
Yeah.
They just wouldn't understand. I listened to this thing, Jeremy Vine, 5-10 minutes, and I actually thought, wow, this is it's actually a sector I'm doing things in, and just listening to that has helped.
Yeah.
That's helped me.
That's good.
So that's education. Education would be the one.
Agree more. And okay then, so to finish off, what would be your question for our next guest?
Oh my God, what type of cheese?
Do
you like cheese in a triangle format, or are you more of a slice? Oh God, can it be anything?
Anything. I mean, obviously, it would maybe make sense to focus it around your GWL and maybe stuff like that. But by all means, whatever you want.
Oh my God.
I should probably give you a heads up about this one, knowing you.
You should have given me a heads up now. Do you know the problem I've got? I'm literally just thinking about pizzas and cheese as well. That's all. I'm searching around in my mind, and there's just pepperonis and all sorts. Oh God, Clinton, stuff like this. I need prepping and priming. You can't keep these questions to yourself.
It's good for you, mate. Thinking on your feet.
Oh God, I honestly can't blooming think.
Right. Well, rather than sitting in silence, what I'll do I'll end the podcast here.
Yeah.
And I'm going to give you 10 minutes to think about it afterwards.
I think that's prudent.
And then we can let them know on the next podcast where your brain finally ended up once it moved past pizza.
Yeah.
Is that all right?
Yeah, I think that'll add an air of excitement. So remember...
An anticipation.
Yeah, can you remember Adam West in Batman? The original Batman.
Yeah.
So when it used to finish, there'd be like a cliffhanger. So for the next time...
That's what you say. We need like the EastEnders da-da-dums at the end of the podcast or something for the anticipation of John's question.
Yeah, that'd be exciting. Yeah.
Right,
we'll do that.
We'll do that. Right, mate. As always, thank you very much. And keep doing what you're doing. Thank you.